Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. This is me, your host, Preacher Maz, host of the SOS to ShOUT Show. Thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to take care of a few housekeeping things. We ask everybody, if you can remember, to please click the subscribe link for YouTube, and hopefully we can be back to you. We're trying to grow the project, and we would definitely appreciate your help and assistance in doing so. That's number one. Number two, for anybody who's coming to the show, it's your first time, please let us know. We like to shout you out and welcome you to the SOS community, if you will, and make sure that you have a good time and a quality experience. For those who come on the show, you know how we do. I appreciate you, and I hope that you continue to come back and grow this project. And it's always funny doing a show on Saturday because you never know what the volume of people is going to be. But I find the funny part is it doesn't really matter, man. People come on and they join, and I had to go through this title of today's program. And I want to thank everybody for joining in, and people have been writing and reaching out. Just so you know, we're going to be hitting our, and God willing, inshallah, we're going to be hitting our 100th episode, August. So we're going to ask people. I'm going to put up some things for the next couple shows, some if you will, some emails that you can send. We like for people to send videos of their shout outs, man, because especially folks that have been here from day one, people who have good impressions of the show, things we can change, things you like, things you didn't like, maybe some of your memorable moments. We want to do that. Before I get started on the show, I have to give a props due to two people. My mom called me, and several people called me in my group, particularly my age group, but my age group and above, to let me know that John Lewis, Congressman John Lewis, had passed away, and Reverend C.T. Vivian had passed away, and they passed away all the way on the same day, which is, one was 95, one was 80, and I just, for a moment, I really sat and meditated on just how much accumulated public service that was, gone in one day. And I don't question, you don't question the make when when God calls you home, you're gonna go, all right? But it was just that thing, man. And in the particular times we are now, I looked at it in terms of, man, that's leadership. That's leadership. That is guidance. That is mentorship. That has been around for quite a number of years, and it's gone. And I just want to reach out and extend condolences to both of the families. These men were extraordinary in their time and incredible, impeccable public servants. So I want to give a tip of the hat and a clap to John Lewis and Reverend C.T. Vivian. Well, back to life. You see the title on the screen, brothers and sisters. It is Keeping Up with the Dirty Low Down. And I call it Keeping Up with the Dirty Low Down. I think this is going to be a weekly feature on the ShOUT Show, because while we are pushing for social justice and ending systemic racism and ending COVID, there's a lot of crime going on right now. I'm calling it crime because it hasn't been caught. And even if you try to put a penal code to it or some type of law to it, it might not be a crime for a couple years. But there's some things going on in the community that may not be aware of. One of which is business. I want to say this, and I want people to listen to me very, very carefully now. There's a crisis in the African American Latino community. It's a major crisis in the African American Latino community. And that crisis is that as a result of COVID, they're talking about upwards of 41% of Black-owned businesses not returning. They're closing their doors. They're not coming back, brothers and sisters. Let me say that again. They're talking 41% of Black-owned businesses will not be coming back online as a result of COVID. Now, if anybody has any, history is a tricky thing, but a lot of Black and Latino-owned businesses barely recovered, are still recovering from the Great Recession in 2008. And I looked at it, because I'm a Black-owned business, I'm an entrepreneur, and I've been fortunate with some things, if you will. I've been fortunate with some things to, for lack of a better word, keep myself afloat, being able to diversify and pivot, if you will. But some businesses, they can't pivot. If you're a restaurant, you just can't all of a sudden become a car wash. If you're a car wash, you can't all of a sudden become a house painting company. A lot of time, dedication, passion, energy, and resilience and dedication go into the businesses. And what we're seeing is these businesses potentially will be shuttered. What is the dirty lowdown on Black-owned businesses being shut? The dirty lowdown is that they're not being financed. The government is not helping them. The programs that were put out for PPP, even unemployment, and even some of the SBA economic injury loans that were put out, forgivable loans, they weren't accessible to a large amount of this, a large amount of these businesses. When I say not accessible, for a lot of the PPP loans, a lot of Black and Latino businesses they didn't even qualify. They're talking about 95 and 91% respectively were not able to qualify because they didn't have relationships with banks. And this is a big thing, because if minority-owned businesses are going down at that rate, you're talking about a failure or a collapse of infrastructure in terms of business, because these are a lot of businesses that will hire people from the community that a lot of corporations will not hire. Why is this important? Because it kept people working. Now you've developed a situation scenario whereby a larger pool of being. If you're a small business, you have 10 employees, and you can no longer have those 10 employees because you contribute 10 more employees to a large pool of people who are I want to say underemployed or unemployed. And it comes at a particular time because, and I don't want this to be a conspiracy, but it comes at a particular time where we're looking at a revamp of reopening businesses, and nobody talked about the businesses that were still closing, or better yet, the businesses that were susceptible to being closed. These businesses, they're not mom and pop businesses, they are community businesses, and as they fail, it's indicative that it allows the community to fail. Taking people and giving them jobs and opportunities, it not only does that, it doesn't give them hope, but it gives them skills. So there's a death that occurs in the Black-owned business sphere because people aren't learning skills. When you bring a waitress into a restaurant, you want that waitress to learn the restaurant business, and then maybe they want to own their own restaurant, open their own restaurant. So there's a lot of syntax there that I don't want to go too far into, but it's definitely important. It's definitely important because owning, Black-owned, is Black liberation in terms of financial literacy, financial freedom. You can free yourself. So it speaks to the part about social mobility. So when I talk about Black-owned business, I'm talking about financial and social mobility, not just for the business, but to be able to apply it to other people. The dirty lowdown is we're not seeing them funded. The dirty lowdown is money is not coming to these people, and if it's coming, it's not coming anytime soon. The idea that we have people with skills and talents that don't want to work for other people, feel like they can go it on their own, feel empowered, and they have the entrepreneurial spirit. However, they're not being able to receive financial support. That's a dirty lowdown to me. Now, you know the other dirty lowdown. 45 is at it again. When I say 45 is at it again, I want you to know 45 never stopped. There are conditions and environments that he finds, for lack of a better word, that in some regards empower him, because the environments themselves are very, insecure environments. It's a thing about when you walk into a room of people who are insecure. The first thing you let them know is you're insecure. The second thing you let them know is you're insecure, but through me, you could be secure. So if you're not confident, I'm going to tell you not confident, but I'm going to tell you through me, you can be confident. We have yet another situation that is spilled over in the state of Georgia. In the state of Georgia, the governor has filed a lawsuit against the mayor of Atlanta because the mayor of Atlanta put into place a mandatory edict that said that if you're outside in public, you must wear a mask. Let me say it. you must wear a mask. I talked about the mask yesterday. This person filed a lawsuit against the mayor of Atlanta saying that somehow the mask violated constitutional rights, or in some regards, the businesses feel like the mask, here, wait for it. And these are businesses, a lot of brothers and sisters, these are a lot of businesses that don't have insurance for their employees. They'll hire you up to 38.5 hours a week, 39 hours a week, but you won't be full-time. You won't be getting your health insurance. You won't be getting your 401k. These people are very slick, but they framed it now that you will come in to work, you will jeopardize yourself, you will not wear a mask, and they say it's the mandate. But you know what? It's common sense. This is an assault on common sense. When I think about it, even more, this whole scenario of COVID, the way it's been handled, it's been an assault on common sense. Everybody knows if a baby coughs, if you don't take care of it, the baby might get a cold. If you got a fever, if you don't address it, it might be the flu. If you have uncontrolled sneezing when you go outside, you're going to be miserable unless you understand it could be allergies. These are things that we all know. None of us have to be epidemiologists or infectious disease specialists. I'm just talking about the things we know on a regular basis. And I've just read, and I hope I'm wrong, yet another roadblock to making sure that people are healthy. You cannot send people into places that you know are not healthy and expect for them to either be happy going there, or that's number one, or two, expect that they're not going to go and make other people sick. The law of the land right now has to be that people, common sense people, almost have to rise up. We can say you can wait till the election. No, I'm saying rise up right now. I'm saying for lack of anything, for lack of just, I'm saying really, the fact of the matter is we've been in this situation, we've been waiting for common sense to arrive, and it's just not going to arrive. We have to disavow ourselves that people are going to do the rational thing and the right thing. People are doing the exact opposite. I talked about behavioral economics, some of the shows a while back. And behavior economics is interesting because this is what you're dealing with now. We're not dealing with the aspect of people being sick. We're not dealing with the aspect of babies being sick. Here in the state of Texas, brothers and sisters, 85 babies checked up positive for COVID. When I say babies, I'm talking about 1, 2, and younger. 85 babies have checked up with COVID, and the governor still has yet to put out a rule that says you have to wear a mask in public. He's still hesitant. He's still trying to hold on to the bootstraps or the coattails of the president to curry his favor. Meanwhile, 85 babies are sick. 85 babies. They haven't had a chance at life, period. They're sick. And you say, how did 85 babies get sick? I don't know. Maybe somebody gave it to them. See how that logic goes? How did the baby get sick? It's infectious disease. Somebody spread it. We're talking about the ignoring of the idea of what spread is. And of course, let's talk about the down and dirty. Prisons have become factories for COVID. If they were a hotel chain, it'd be COVID, the COVID Inn, or the Comfort and COVID Inn. That's what we'll call it. Because we are not talking about the scourge of COVID that's going through our correctional facilities. And it may be a case of, if you don't see it, it didn't happen. But I'm taking calls from people who are incarcerated saying that they're being restricted in movement, which is prison, but they're being denied services. They're also being denied nutrition, the food that you would maybe use, if you will, to fight COVID. I'm going to share this with Brother Doug. Yes. So I'm bringing this point up because this is a down and dirty. The down and dirty is the things you don't actually know about. The down and dirty is maybe the things that you don't see. The down and dirty is the things they don't bring. You don't see it on the news, and it's with when the cameras go away, when the attention goes away. These are the realities that people are dealing with. I'll even give you the down and dirty on this. A lot of people who contracted COVID, and they say, you know what, the people, they recovered. They didn't fully recover. A lot of people dealt with COVID, but COVID absolutely wrecked their health system. There was a brother here, he's a rapper. He's a rapper. I won't say his name. I wish him the best. This guy got COVID back in March 23. And I remember going, hey, man, hold on a minute. Okay, sorry. But I remember this guy being ill with COVID, and we didn't know what it was. We didn't know that it could do the body that kind of damage, if you will. We knew it could kill you, but early in March, it was like, okay, this is a guy, brothers and sisters, who was a healthy man, a healthy African-American guy. He recovered from COVID. But did he really recover from COVID? No. COVID wrecked his system. This was a healthy man, and by the time COVID was done with him, he had double pneumonia, number one, and renal failure. He was asked, have you ever had renal failure? He said, I've never had a problem with my kidneys before. Renal failure. So in less than 2 to 3 months, he goes from a healthy individual to a man that's now on dialysis. He depends on dialysis for his quality of life. These are the things you need to talk about. The other down and dirty is this right here. Race will be an issue for the 2020 elections. Let me tell you why. The economy will not be that strong in November. The aspect of people who have lost jobs will be just as high, but they're going to be angry. They're going to be angry because people are going to begin to see that a lot of this stuff was avoidable, not by our actions, but it was the denial, if you will, the denial and withholding of information. One of the things that happened, the greatest robbery, is that people hid and sat on information. Go back and check some of the stuff that the CDC said and some of the stuff that they put out and base it against some of the stuff that was sent out by the World Health Organization, of which we're not a part of anymore. And you're going to see some startling things. Go back to some of the reports that came out of Wuhan. Remember Wuhan? Wuhan, that had, this is supposed where it started. Look at the numbers of people who passed away in Wuhan based upon the amount of people who passed away in the United States. The last time I checked, China has a bigger population than the United States. You say, well, what happened? The down and dirty of it, it's a business. It's a 100% business. The inavailability of PPP has come from the top. Everybody will tell you, I have several friends who were trying to get into PPP business, brothers and sisters. They were going to make all this money and I'm sorry, I said PPP. That's the program that doesn't work. PPE. Sorry, forgive me. But they were going to get into PPE business. And all of a sudden, people couldn't find gloves, couldn't find masks. And it was the stockpiles were low. You know what happened, brothers and sisters? People decided to go into the mask business before masks were needed. Before the information came out that masks were important, people went into the mask business, and it shows in February. In February, the amount of purchases of masks in February. And by the time it was available to the public, it was too late. I'm not alleging any kind of conspiracy theory. I have a good friend of mine, very good friend of mine, who was trying to sell masks. He was dealing with people over in China who were willing to sell a mask. And for lack of a better, for more context, they had the mask, but the problem was they would get the mask here in the United States, and the United States government would confiscate the mask in the name of being able to supply them the front end, our frontline workers. But the frontline workers kept saying, we're not getting the mask. Where did the mask go? This is an issue of competition. This is an issue of business being put above just the simple principle of quality of life. People trying to live, dealing with a pandemic. This situation is out of control because people have been handcuffed. They've been handcuffed by how they respond to their business. They've been handcuffed in terms of how they respond to a crisis. And now the big thing that's out there, you're going to make sure people are going to get sick. You're going to make sure there's a population of people that are going to be sick. A large group of people are going to be sick. And the information keeps switching. Do we need a mask? You need a mask. It's to the point where people act like if you put on a mask, somehow you are not a patriot. You're unconstitutional. You don't believe in America, the free speech, which is absolutely foolish. But this is foolish times with foolish leadership. I'm telling you, people, this is a lead up to the election. Think about it. Florida is traditionally Republican. That's going to be a swing state. Texas is going to be a swing state. It's almost as saying, let me make sure the people who could hurt me during the election can't hurt me because they're going to be too sick. They're going to be too broke. They're going to be too destitute. They're going to be too worried about all the other things except voting me out of office. Let me give some shout outs right here. All right, thank you, Sister Ike. We appreciate you. Well, inshallah, we'll pass soon. Big Earth, I hope you got home from the hospital, man. I've been pulling for you, brother. I've been pulling for you. Also want to give a shout out to my big brother, Reggie. He had some health issues. Please keep him in his dua. And my big brother, Zay, all the way from Toledo. My main man, my main homie right there. But if we start thinking, people, every once in a while, I say, listen, I want to keep it on the high side. I want to be positive. I want to be all those things. But sometimes you got to think on the dirty lowdown. What are people getting away with? What crimes are going on? I know you're out of the hospital, big brother. I know. I read your Facebook, man. I'm glad you're out of the hospital. But what happens, brothers and sisters, if this plan is successful? Because you haven't heard of any PPE going to the schools, the public schools, the private schools. You're not hearing that. We're being told, go to school, you wear a mask. I'm going to tell you, a mask is good, but a mask is good if you're moving and you're not standing in front of people. You understand what I'm saying? I'm looking at this because this has implications on the election because there's also issues of COVID being so bad that people will have to vote from home. Guess what people are trying to do? They're trying to make sure you can't vote from home. They're making sure you're going to make a choice. Am I going to go out and express my constitutional right to vote? Or am I going to express my spiritual right to live a happy life? And I'm like, these are not the principles that America is made on. But at this point in time, who's worried about principles? People worry about polls. People worry about power. People worry about positioning. And if we begin to lose sight of the fact that these are the things that are out there and these are the things that are triggering people, we're done. It's a wrap. So I'm encouraging everybody. You know what? It's not negative. It's not pessimism. It's not having a bleak outcome. But I'm going to encourage everybody to engage the dirty lowdown, to look at the actions that you're seeing, peel the layers back, pull the curtain back and say, hey, wait, I caught that one. Because you see in Georgia, and I call Georgia out as one of the dirty lowdown. In Georgia, man, Georgia's one of the first states where they say, hey, let's reopen. But the things they reopened were community businesses, communal businesses. Open those bars up. And guess what? A lot of the Black-owned businesses are what? They're bars. Now they're bars, they can't close. They can't open. They're closing down. So you have people going into these businesses. Now you created a conundrum. Well, I sent you to for lack of a better word, I sent you to a hospital to get sick. Now you're sick. Now you can't even go back. You can't even extract any good out of that situation. And I'm telling you, folks, I am telling you, it's gonna come. There's gonna be some sort of rebellion where people are gonna start looking at minorities, the poor, and say, you're the problem behind COVID. You're the COVID. And I'm talking about people who are not able to defend themselves. I'm talking people in the inner cities that are trying to find a way up. People are trying to find a way, period. They're not, they're not desperate folks. It's just they have difficult times. And so they're worried about this. And this is, I told you guys I was teaching before. Yes, Doug, yes. Principals are having to go in because principals are on contracts. And I told you guys about the state of Florida and Texas. You can't strike in the state of Florida. Teachers can't strike. And if you quit your job and you breach a contract, you will lose your certification to teach in the state of Texas or Florida. And if you try to go someplace else, brothers and sisters, the certification is no good. We're talking about a situation where about Slim and None, and Slim just left town. So as we engage, and I try and wrap this up, engage a dirty lowdown. It's a capability. It's a possibility that people are working on the dirty lowdown. I don't like what I saw in Atlanta. I don't like what I saw in the state of Georgia, because the same man that told people, go back to these businesses, open these businesses, got these people riled up. Now they're sick. He's saying, don't protect yourself. Don't listen to this woman. The mayor of Atlanta contracted COVID, and it took her 8 to 9 days to get the results. This lady could have been dead by now, and she's the mayor. So bump that lousy lawsuit. All you're trying to do is hold on to your jobs. And I say this, people, stay in your homes if you know that's what you need to do. Work from home. And you know what? If it comes to a situation, make the government responsible for taking care of you. I look at all these other countries, Canada and Sweden and Finland, they're offering, almost up to 85% of your salary because they understand how important it is to have a healthy workforce. Why not here in the United States? Why not in DC? Why not in Texas? Why not in Florida? How come nobody has rung that bell and say, look what everybody else is doing and look at what we're doing? Somebody said I was advocating for revolution. I am. I'm advocating for revolution. I'm advocating for revolution for people with common sense, meaningful logic, and compassion to take over the situation. Don't wait for laws. Don't wait for new mandates because they're not coming. We've seen this thing go up, down, and now it's rocketing up. And as we get closer and closer to the election, it's going to get more and more bizarre. So let me tell everyone this. And my brother just tuned in. Assalamu alaikum, Ahmad. Yeah. Because college players and professional players generate revenue. The guy that has the cart with ice cream in it that you see him on Sunday pushing, he doesn't generate revenue, or at least the level of revenue that corporations like. Professional sports is about corporations. Make no mistake about it. And so are amateur sports about corporations. So as I move forward and trying to wrap this up, I'm going to ask everybody, keep up with the dirty lowdown. Investigate. Hypothesize. When I say hypothesize, it means don't worry about being wrong, but have a guess about what could be happening in your neck of the woods. Have a guess that can be happening with your politicians. Have an educated guess that could be what can be happening in your community right outside your door. And I believe if we do that, and we keep up with the dirty lowdown, and we don't let it be covert, if you will. We holler it out. We shout it out. I'm like, listen, let's make this thing real. Let's talk about it. Let's express it. Let's make sure that people have access to information. We need to develop our own information networks about COVID, about employment, about our teachers, about our children, about our people in the community who are developing employment. I talked about Black businesses. Here's a statistic. In 2008, with the Great Recession, they didn't talk about it, maybe because we had a black president. They didn't talk about the fact that 60% of black businesses that went under didn't come back. I gave you a number about 41% not coming back. If I tell you 60% didn't come back, you're still dealing with that with the other 40%. It's never recovered. These are things that I want people to understand. So in the spirit of Representative John Lewis, in the spirit of CT Vivian, you know what? We all need to stand up. In difficult times, we need to stand up. In difficult times, we need to share ideas. We need to move off our comfort levels and we need to congeal a new identity to deal with these things. And I'm saying, begin it with keeping up with your dirty low down. Preacher Moss, I appreciate you, everybody. I'm going to give you guys a little something that you can. So maybe next show, if you will, people, I'm going to ask folks to email some ideas in, if you will. We're going to be talking about a few things. I want to give a shout out to my sponsor here, Terry Fatar, doing amazing things, if you will, with the fragrance game. I ask everybody, we're going to give out some of these for the 100 thing. So please, people who are willing to put out some stuff for videos for our 100 show, I encourage you to do so. And we will be hopefully sending you out some gift packages. See how that works? You're going to get a little free stuff. So I don't mind. But for all you folks practicing the dirty lowdown, you don't get a damn thing. Talk to you later. Assalamu alaikum.